Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to Enigmatica 6 Expert. So since the last episode, it has been a bit of time. I've been building and I've been prepping quite a bit of stuff, actually working on smoothing all of this out, as well as these little areas in here and doing a little bit of cleanup stuff down through there, and then I've been figuring out how exactly I want to take this upwards. Now, I did open up this a little bit more because I'd been debating for some time now how I was going to do the top. I had considered just doing it so that it was open and just had like a skylight part that shone down, but I think I have changed my mind. I think what we're going to do for the very, very top, we'll have to do some adjustment with it. But I was considering where I'm going to be implementing some of these multi-blocks. And actually, the Stellar Neutron Activator, if we take a look at that, that's going to go perfect on top of our pyramid, I think. I will have to kind of bring it out because you'll notice at the bottom, there's all this stuff here, but we can make all that fit. So we're going to be putting this part in at the top and then having this big crystal on top of our pyramid is the plan for the top, I think. So also set up a summoning crystal and diamond chest over here. We're going to be getting into this later. Automate a few things, and also I found that my tanks were actually vanishing from this. So I switched it over to buckets for now. That'll work just as well, and it's a little bit cheaper until I can figure out why they're disappearing. It seems to be tied to whenever the server restarts. It seems to wipe out my tanks that are there. So a little bit problematic. But beyond that, everything's been running good. I do think I'm probably, unless something changes long term, I'm probably going to stick with just the heatsink, because I've noticed it hasn't gotten over like a little over 100 degrees, like 110, which is a single heatsink. I did do a little bit of testing. You can run, with no speed upgrades, you can run an advanced liquid compressor with like 3 heat sinks, and it always stays below 50 degrees. So our biome, since it is hot here, we're not going to really naturally get below 56, but that's okay. I'm not that worried about it, but even at like 110, it's still like 80% or something efficiency, so I'm not terribly concerned about it. So I've added a whole bunch of volume upgrades across the board, even added some to these, just singles, and some over here as well. I did have to adjust this because I noticed that if I have the drill at an angle, it actually won't drill that. So I had to basically switch that and that over, and it's running perfectly now. So, but yeah, I've found that heatsink it seems to be perfect. I think if we end up needing to scale out compressors, add speed upgrades, that sort of stuff, then we'll do something with probably either air grates or vortex tube. One or the other. It just depends on if we need to. But like I said, I haven't really noticed much of a need to without running speed upgrades, and this actually sustains pressure extremely good. Things may change when I start adding a bunch of speed upgrades to this, but for now I think all's good. And I've actually got 2 speed upgrades in these, so for them not to get that high on temperature, it's not too bad. Really, it's not too bad at all, and it fills back up pressure fairly quickly. But anyways, today we're going to start pushing towards the centrifuge. Now there's a few things that we're going to need to do before we get up to that point, but one thing I am going to do, I was doing a little bit of calculation, and I think I'm going to want 22 machine frames today. So we're going to go ahead and just order, if we can, 3 machine bases. What is it missing? Oh, I know what it's missing. The reinforced stone slabs, which I've got to make up some more crafters to put that recipe in. Let me go ahead and just add that recipe right here. So I'll remember that I need to add that to a crafter. And then for now, I'll just make up a batch of those. Okay, I'm out of iron. That's fine. Get some more iron going, and then I'll order the other 3 of those here in just a moment. Now, the other half, these right here, we're going to be low on the iron too on that. Okay. Well, we'll give that iron a minute to process. Okay, now while that's running, which I was thinking, I'm going to have to kind of push these back and readjust this room slightly. Because I do think I want the kind of the glass curtain here in the front, like I've got on all the other sides. So I will be pushing this around and readjusting this just a little bit. But let's go ahead and get ourselves a stack of Floral Fertilizer. And then we're going to go ahead and just start feeding this some flowers. Our aura's capped back out, which is great. And if we take a look at the centrifuge, we're going to need a bunch of infused sun metal. Like a bunch. Alright, I got that ordered, and then we can go in with the 21. Probably going to be missing iron again. It uses a lot of iron. No, we can pull it off. There's 22 ordered, so it's got a little bit to chew through here. It's got to make a ton of machine frames right now, so we'll let that run for a minute, and that's going to put us very, very good on getting our centrifuge, as well as getting our final drawer controller, which is going to be for some of the stuff that we're going to be setting up today. Yeah, it looks like just getting more speed into the assembly system it's going to help us out, because right now that's the main limiting factor, it looks like. But let's go ahead and order ourselves, we're going to need at least 88, and I know these take a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and just order, let's do 100 sun metal. 72. What am I missing? Nothing. Okay, well, we'll go with that. We'll get ourselves 100 sun metal blend sent over. And of course, I don't have it automatically smelting, but I can run over there and smelt that real quick. We've got to get our smelting system set up. What's strange is I thought it would impact us more. It only crops up on certain things like that, and it's just kind of like, okay, I'll just run over and do that. But we do actually need to get that set up, so. Okay, and with that, I mean, that's going to be the bulk of everything for the centrifuge, right? I mean, we're going to have to make this, but signal glass. Okay, that's just signal them. These are automated. These maybe. I know aluminum wire is automated. I can't remember if I automated the wire itself. Aluminum sheet metal, I've probably got enough on hand of that. And centrifuges, we're going to be removing our old ones for this, so that'll be fine. And then this, yeah. Okay, so as far as building 2 centrifuges, we're golden in terms of that stuff. And then, of course, they'll use a little bit of power, and that's fine. But as far as right now, I have my bees actually turned off. I turned them off between episodes, and I'm probably going to, here in just a minute, we'll cut and I'll change out the ceiling and stuff, because like I said, I'm going to do these all a little bit different on the inside. But I do have my bees turned off because before we push on, I do want to go ahead and upgrade to the tier 3 apiary. That way, for one, it speeds things up. Because we're going to be producing honeycomb blocks, which our centrifuges can process, and it means we'll be setting everything up for a more permanent fashion, because right now we have honeycombs in our drawers. These are all going to be getting removed in favor of honeycomb blocks, and we're going to have to adjust this one slightly. May even go with compacting drawers for the rocky honeycomb and woody honeycomb, or we might just do crafters to break those down. Because those are the main ones that we want in honeycomb form, I think. But I want to shoot for at least the tier 3 apiary. Tier 4, it's not that important to us right now, and it's actually unobtainable for us, but the other 2 are very much obtainable for us. So when it comes to making our tier 2 and tier 3 apiary, the main things that we're going to need are simply runes. Alright, so this is done. We're going to go ahead and grab that, and I've been getting some living rock together, and we have some stuff laid out for our runes. Now, there's a few other things that we're going to have to make. Also, for one of the runes, I went ahead and got us 4 Arboreal Extractors. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to make a couple runes real quick. And I'm actually going to go ahead and be making 4 of each basic rune. There we go. And we're going to go ahead, send that over. And we might go ahead and make a Gourmet Alice today, too. Now, of course, my long-term goal is Spectrolis, but I don't have a whole lot of Blacker Lotuses left at the moment, and I think we'll need the mana. We might need the mana today. Now, that being said, I do have a band of mana with a decent amount, but I really don't want to use that, because I do make use of that for being able to check on items. So, and actually, on that note, we have over here a couple Botania quests. Let's go ahead and turn these in and see what we end up with. Cacophonium. from that. Okay. Well, let's go ahead. And technically, we might go ahead and make another spreader or two. Just so we can start moving this over faster. Because right now, it's a little slow. Let me go smelt this stuff up real quick. Because I got a lot of runes to make. But let's go ahead and toss. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to throw it in the diamond chest instead of ordering it. But let's go ahead and toss our 100 sun metal bricks into there. And then that way they can start getting turned into the infused sun metal over here. So I'll have to keep an eye on the aura. I don't think they take a ton, but I think running 100 at the moment I might need to just keep a little bit of an eye on that. Our centrifuges, having 2 of them, it's going to be a little bit material intensive, but it's not that bad, really. Oh, we actually have a mana spreader. An extra one. Did I get that from a quest, maybe? Or actually, I think whenever I made them, I think I made 2. And really, I could move the runic altar just a little bit closer, too. Speed it up, and then, of course, we could make lenses, too. But yeah, I think for this, let's go ahead and put it right there instead. And that way it'll speed up substantially. Yeah, this is a lot more reasonable. There we go. So there is 8 runes of fire. And then we'll go ahead, we're going to do 8 runes of air. It's a little bit more than what we need. But we're going to need a few runes, and I'm actually going to need a few runes for... here in a couple of episodes, we're going to be automating Runic Altar and Petal Apothecary and some stuff like that. And we're going to need a few of these runes for stuff that I have planned for that. So may as well go ahead and get them, especially like the basic runes, you know? And we are going to get a Rare Britannia loot box with Engineer Goggles. Okay. Yeah, actually I don't think we'll have to run a Gormialis for this. I still need to make one because we have a quest. Actually, that's kind of tied back at the moment. Yeah, over here, this whole quest line is kind of tied back because of the Gormialis, but then again, it's easy to catch back up whenever we get around to it too, so it's not really a big deal for us, I don't guess. Okay, so there's those. Now, the other basic runes, we've got the fire, we've got the air. These other basic runes, they do require something more of us. The Rune of Water, most of it's basic stuff, but we are going to need the Upgrade Aquatic Infused Stone. So, basically we can just put Coral Stone next to Living Coral. So, of course, it does have to be in the water. We have Warped Coral, which technically it counts as a coral block. So, Coral Stone. Let's go ahead and just order... Well, I didn't mean to order that much of it. That's okay. I wonder if Warped Coral works. And if so, we won't even have to do this in the water, actually. Normally you would have to do this in the water, but I want to do this as a test. There's a couple tests related to our coral that I want to do before I decide on exactly how I want to farm it, because I have a couple ideas. And if this warped coral works, that's going to be great. Because normally you would have to put this into the water. We'll give that a little bit and see. I know it takes a while. This stuff, it infuses rather slowly. So while that's running, I am going to pop over to the ocean and just grab some coral. But then again, it probably wouldn't apply... Yeah, it probably wouldn't apply an effect to it because it doesn't have a warped coral stone. But we'll leave it running and see if it works, if it makes something. But for right now, I think what I'm going to do is have this be tied to the water crafting area. But for now, what we'll do is we'll just place out our coral stone like this. Actually, for a minute here, I'm going to go ahead and remove like 3 chunk loads just so I can chunk load this. Because it does take a while. Or at least it normally does. So that's why I'm going to have to leave this running for a bit, because I'm not going to know for like some time. Because I know it can sit for a while, like 30 minutes before it changes over in some cases. So, alright, now over to the Rune of Earth. Most of this is straightforward. We are going to have to make some runes. It doesn't really matter which kind we make. And I think the runes are... They craft 2 at a time? Yeah. So I'm just going to grab some white corundum. We're going to have to spend an episode here very, very soon just doing basically like block break type automation. Or not necessarily block break, but like simple automation. Like the coral stone will be fairly simple. And we need to do a corundum farm. We need to do water crafting. We need to set up our smelting system. A lot of like little quick automation systems like that that are used for a few things. And then in addition, I'm going to need some worms. So those are really, really easy, but I need to pop over and get those. And I guess we should set up worm automation as well. So now if you're using time in a bottle, that should work for your coral stone, but like I said, I'm not really using that, so mine I'm going to need to build with scaling out in mind. But then we can go ahead and get our Runes of Earth. Now, if we take a look at the Rune of Mana, we have a quest to make one. I don't actually think I need one today necessarily, but it wouldn't be bad. That's going to be Isis, Ingot of the Skies. Okay. That's going to be the big thing at the moment. The Mana Pearl will take time, but I don't think I'm wanting to push progression to get the Offering Altar right now. Checking my aura here. And honestly, once we get into a decent ways into Astral Sorcery, it might be worth doing a Heraldum ritual on like the Natural Altar and stuff. Normally I'm not that crazy about it. Most tick increasers, but Natural Altar is a little bit slow, and with how much you need it in this pack, it might honestly be worth it in this pack to have that. But okay, so there's our Runes of Earth. Now we just need the Coral Stone to get our Runes of Water. And let's go ahead and get another mana pool just to get that one quest out of the way for Botania. Oh, wow, that's a lot of living rock. That was well worth it. Basically just 4 living rock and a resource that we have basically infinite of to get a literal ton of living rock. You know something I just thought of? I killed my coral because I placed blocks completely around it. That was my bad. I was like, it's really taking a while because it's kind of RNG based, right? And so I was thinking, well, surely one of these would have changed over by now, but no, not whenever there's no water around it. Yeah, you can see this one's already changed over here. So it all just kind of comes down to RNG. Having more blocks around it, like for example these, doesn't help, doesn't change anything. Tick increasers will, speed it up, like I said. So maybe Heraldum Ritual down the road or something, but I don't know. Or just build it on a big scale. These are actually, builders are really, really cheap in this pack. So that's a thought too. Then we can get our water runes. So we'll get that. I think probably the next, because I've been working towards the centrifuge, because the biggest points of lag in my base at the moment are just my pretty pipes that are requesting things that I don't have. And that's literally all tied to me not having my bees in place. Because some of the stuff is related to those bees, having enough of that bee produce coming in that it keeps things running. So, that's why I've been kind of working towards this and picking up, Enigmatica and stuff like that along the way. But once this is out of the way, we'll be good again. We'll be good on power, we'll be good on storage and stuff like that. I'm steadily increasing my crafting speed by adding speed upgrades to, each of my crafters. And then we're going to start into the mechanism speed upgrades to actually speed up the crafters, their crafting, and not like their extract speed. But I think, we'll probably have a couple one-off automation-y type episodes coming up. One will be a lot of miscellaneous things, like the water crafting. We need to automate coral stone. We need to automate corundum, because those things are going to help us out in terms of Botania a lot. We need to automate Botania, just in general, the living wood, living rock. We need to automate god shards. We need to automate, a few just weird things like that we use a bit, so... Okay, but we got the basic runes. Now, at this point, technically, we can go ahead and bump up to Tier 2 Apiaries, because they just require Runes of Air, Runes of Earth, Aura Blooms, Sunflowers, Honeycomb Blocks, and the Rainbow, or the Honey Blocks themselves, and Honeycomb Blocks, which we should have all this stuff lying around. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be shooting for 4 Apiaries first up, and we're going to be shooting straight for the Tier 3 Apiaries. So, yeah. These, I've removed all the bees from them So let's go ahead and just take them. And then we'll go ahead and get the ones that are over on this side too. Because I'm going to be setting up bees in these also. And then I'll just have the 4 in the middle. I still got to make 2 additional apiary blocks. Alright, now these are done. Let's go ahead and grab these real quick. Because I don't think... How many honey blocks do I have? I don't think I have a lot. We could always go buy some, but yeah, I've just got 7 honey bottles. It's going to be easier for us to go ahead, get our centrifuges set up at this point. And yeah, I don't think that these are going to work. I was thinking, even though they don't have a related coral stone block, I was like, well, maybe they'll just pick a random one. I wanted to test it, but I actually don't think that they will. Let me grab a couple blaze cakes, and let's go ahead. I need to set up the redstone automatic blaze feeding for this. So let's go ahead and run that. And that's going to get us all of our machine frames. For the next tier, I think it's mainly, it's Isnium and advanced machine frame. Okay, so that's going to be the main thing. I mean, technically we could push on. Isnium is super easy to farm, as we found on ATM Spellbound. Super, super easy to get a lot of it. So that's not too bad. Let me go ahead and just get, it'll be easier if I just get all of that. Oh yeah, I've got to actually turn this into the machine frames themselves. And let's go ahead and add a recipe here and show it how to make these. And then we'll tell it, you send it to there. Okay, so that's going to start crafting. It's going to take it a minute because it's got to do 22 of these, and it's not the fastest thing in the world, but that's okay. We got to get some speed upgrades going through that, and one of the things we're going to be setting up today is going to allow for us to easily push into that. Alright, now while that stuff's running, we'll bump this up, but I'm waiting for that stuff to get finished so we can go ahead and make some centrifuges and do it through the centrifuge instead of doing it through those little single centrifuges. Alright, now let's take a look at the Rune of Spring and the Rune of Summer, because we're also going to want these today. Rune of Spring is turf. It's also any kind of tulip. It has to be a tulip. Spirit of Birthing, which of course fairly easy to do. And then we are going to need syrup, and we're also going to need specific god shards. Syrup is the reason that we got the Arboreal Extractor, though. So what we're going to do, we're going to come over... It's going to be 2 from... So right over here is going to be our syrup Arboreal Extractor. And syrup isn't something that we're going to be using a ton of, most likely. But we will be using a little bit of it. So it's going to be sap. And we're going to be able to do it through either the fractionating steel or the thermoneumatic. We're probably going to be doing it through the fractionating steel. And sap is going to be a product of maple at 4 millibuckets. Yeah, any kind of maple, looks like. Actually, it's all equal with the Arboreal Extractors. So, and then what I'm going to do is go ahead and just thin out. And then we can put our Arboreals in. Oh, but actually, I need to take it down by 1. How do I want to do this? No, we can actually do it like that. I can just place a block in. That's perfect. It still registers it as a natural tree. You can also move the blocks, like... anything that can move a block, you know, we could do it with R's or something like that. We could move the base blocks of the trees, but in our case, we can also just grow them all natural too. I'm gonna have to get some more connectors. But now at this point, we can go ahead and get some Centrifuge Casings. So there is 40 of those. Which actually, we're going to get a chunk of this. I think the only quest after today, because there's not one for the Advanced Centrifuge, the only thing we'll have left is getting the Tier 4 Apiary. Which will just be a sort of overtime sort of thing. Oh, and then I've got to get the Redstone Engineering blocks. Let's go ahead and grab our Redstone Engineering blocks. And we got some tasks completed, probably for some multi-blocks. But we want... Centrifuge controller, and I'm actually going to need these real quick. Let's see, what quests have we finished? We got a Farmer's Delight bag with cod and chips. We got some XP levels. Yeah, that's it right now. Just go ahead and clear that out. And then let's pop over at this point. We've got everything we need to go ahead and just set up both of these centrifuges. So we're going to be cutting down these at long last. And we're actually going to be getting a bunch of these upgrades back too. But I will be using some of them also. So there is our centrifuge controller. And this is going to be set up over here. Let me go ahead and just set up a chest just for kind of cleaning up this area, because we have a lot of junk over here that needs to get removed. Power's right there right now. Let me go ahead and remove all these fluids, because we're going to be completely overhauling the fluid system as well. No longer using a trash can at all, because we will no longer be trashing our fluids after today, which will be great. So what we're going to do, these are going to be 3x3 for the base, and they come up 4 blocks, and just somewhere inside of these, we're going to want to have a controller on it. So we're actually going to have our controller be sitting here, and there's our form multi-block. So, and then let's go ahead. Let's see. I'll have to readjust these pretty pipes just a little bit, the way these are laid out, but that's going to be a centrifuge, and that's going to be a centrifuge. So let's go ahead and just run power up, and we'll run that over to supply power to the other centrifuge, and then I'll have to shape the ceiling up too, and that's fine. Yeah, my math was one off. I wasn't... I don't think I was taking into account, because I'm going to need one more for a drawer controller, but I can get that later. That's not a problem. There we go. There is our other centrifuge. And this one should be able to get power right now, unless my cable didn't auto-connect, which it looks like that's the case. That's fine. There we go. So both of those are getting powered up. And let's go ahead and tell this that it's going to allow honeycomb blocks. And then I will need a tag filter. And we'll just say you're extracting honeycomb blocks specifically. And then we'll put a speed upgrade into that as well. That comes out, it goes across. And then we'll want to go ahead and just run this out. Okay. And that's a bit cleaner, and everything is ran accordingly. And the pipe pressurizer is hitting up all 3 of our pipelines over here. So, okay. So now at this point, I am going to need some extraction modules. And I'm going to go ahead and order 2 or 3 high-speed increase modules. And so our extract modules will go in here. And just to make sure, I don't believe that it can extract from the input slots, but I do want to check it just to make sure. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be pulling that out. That's perfect. And then let's go ahead and throw in our high-speed increase modules. 1 there, and then 1 on each of these. So these will be running at basically full speed. Okay, so now at this point, these are set up, and none of these have fluids in them at the moment. I think rocky, it's either rocky or woody. Well, actually, I think both can produce fluids. Yeah, rocky honey. Yeah, I just need any kind of honey right now. What do I have the most of? Rocky. So we'll go ahead and throw in like 10 into there. And Tier 3 Apiary, does it take... It does take honeycomb blocks. Okay. So, yeah, we're getting rocky honey. Perfect. Okay. So, those are running, and those will be able to run, and then the honeycomb will automatically come into here from our Tier 3 Apiaries. But at this point, we're going to want to get ourselves a honey congealer. Eventually, I think we'll want a couple of these. Now, looking through the honey, there's only a couple of them that are ever used for anything. That's like... And they're very, very limited... very, very limitedly used. The only exception being like maybe ICB honeycomb or something like that if you're going to use thermal generators. And then, you know, we will want regular, just some kind of honey coming in just for our bee-related stuff. But once again, it's limited use, but we'll have some coming in. But for right now, we're going to just do, I guess, manual for just a moment, just because I need some honey. So let's go ahead. Let me grab these. So I think what we'll probably do is probably just void a lot of it. Because there's just not any need for it, to be honest. So we'll go ahead and pump that into the honey congealer and get that going and making us our rocky honey blocks, because I'm going to want 16 for upgrading our apiaries today. And we'll come back to that momentarily, but once we get our bees up and going. But like I said, we're only going to be running a few different types of bee fluids through the honey congealer, and the rest will just go to the trash can. So, okay, so it's going to be all of this stuff through the enchanting apparatus and the apiary there in the center. There we go. We love our bees now. And that's going to give us the tier 2, which it is an upgrade, but it still makes combs. And we want to get completely out of combs and just get into comb blocks at this point. So there's 4 tier 2s. And of course, these will produce 6 combs instead of 3 per operation. Alright, so now to move on to the tier 3 apiaries. At this point, we are going to need tokens of joy, which are easy enough for us, and we're also going to need Runes of Spring and the Runes of Summer, which we've started working on. We're going to get back to those now. Alright, now at this point, we are going to go ahead and get ourselves some Spirits of Birthing. And it'll take a second, because I need to expand these rabbits out. So I'm just going to leave them there. And we'll come back to those in a moment. But I do need kind of a local place to start getting those Spirits of Birthing, because we'll be using a few of them here fairly soon. I've already got the turf. I've got to get the tulips. I may already have them, but we're about to have those coming in a lot easier. Now the syrup at this point. We need to basically set up another fractioning steel and start running that through to get our syrup. So for the fractioning steel, blaze burner, flare stack, redstone, it can actually make those. There's the fluid outlet, and I'll go ahead and get the stuff ordered for the flare stack. And then we'll finish setting up our syrup line. The other one isn't too bad. It's just we got to craft some food, basically. Which shouldn't be too bad. It'll be a little bit easier after this episode to start crafting a lot of food. But go ahead and get my zoom on. I like it because I can generally keep flight up for a bit while I do stuff. It sometimes falls off after a little bit. Like right now, I won't make it back before my flight wears off, but then we can go ahead and get our fractioning steel. Okay, let's just go ahead. This will be completely XNet based. Yeah. So we'll just put the fractioning steel in right there. And let's grab our connectors and our pipes. Or cables. We'll go ahead and plug that up, and we're going to be doing this as syrup craft. And what all do we actually use syrup for? Just Runes of Spring, I think. Okay, well, what we're going to do, let's grab ourselves a bucket of this sap. And let's find our syrup craft line here. You're going to be inserting the sap. And we can toss that in. That's going to get crafting. And for every bucket that we make, we're going to get 250 millibuckets of syrup. Now, let's take a look real quick, because we're going to have this water coming in, and that's somewhat of a nuisance. I mean, we could do something with it. We could easily void it or something. But what about... Yeah, there's nothing for removing that water, so what we'll probably do is just pipe it out and get rid of it. And we'll set that up in just a moment. But let's go ahead, let's pop down underneath the floor here, and let's find right over here our other Arboreal Extractors, and just run this over. And then we can just tell it that it's going to extract on all 4 of these. So there we go, and we should have plenty of sap coming in here in just a moment. Oh, and let's say you're going to insert from the back side on this. So sap comes in, it's going to start crafting, and a single bucket of this is going to give us plenty at the moment. So we'll just run another connector out, and we don't want you to connect on the east side. And we're going to call this syrup out. We're not going to be sending it out right this second, but oh, and it looks like perfect timing because this is just finishing up. There we go. And you can go there. You can output out the back. You can input from the right-hand side. You can output out the right-hand side. Auto output enabled. Now we do still have the water. Yeah, the only thing about doing it this way is the water can still come in. For that, we're going to go ahead and just set up a liquid trash can. Because I'm actually thinking our Xnet cable, since we've already got it ran over here, I'm going to go ahead and just connect it up to that as well. And what we'll do is we'll just have the controller here. This is going to be the fluid trash can for basically all of our fluids. Let's just do a blacklist on this. And we'll say you can do, you can't do syrup. You're going to do syrup, you're not going to do sap, you're not going to do, wait, which creosote do we actually make? Okay, it's all perfect. Okay. Don't do the latex. Also, for future-proofing this a little bit, go ahead and don't do regular honey, otherworldly honey. Don't do icy bee honey. Those are the ones that come to mind at the moment. Yeah, so we'll just say these for right now, and maybe we'll add some other stuff there. That's blacklisted, so everything else can go through. And then we'll say, oh, the only thing is I don't have a connection here for that. So we'll just have syrup tank out. That. We'll change the backside to input output for this. And then we'll say that you can auto output is enabled. And that way it'll send the water out. And then you can extract here. So then this will all run through the syrup out fluid encapsulator. And we'll go ahead and say that you can insert syrup. And yeah, then we should be good. And then you can insert to the fluid trash can. Yeah, and there we go. So we're getting our syrup. The water's getting dealt with, and that should be good. Okay, now our rabbit cooldown should be up by now. So we'll go ahead and get ourselves a couple more spirits of birthing. That's enough for what we need today, because we're going to go ahead and make 4 of these runes, I think. Okay, now the only other thing that we need at this point is we just need the god shards. In this case, it is Osiris, but we also need to keep an eye out for Ra. Specifically. Yeah, I don't have any extras of any of those. That's fine. And I'm going to need some Nebu. And actually probably go ahead and get another couple stacks of that. Because we're liable to need quite a bit of this. And then we're going to need some of our Mumby honeycombs. I'm trying to clean up this room, but we've got plenty of those. We'll go ahead and order a furnace real quick. I'm going to go ahead and make another one of these. Because we'll be running a bit of these today. So there we go. There's another God Forge. Okay. I have basically used up every bit of Nebu that we've got. So we're going to have to get more. Though, of course, we do have, at this point, we do have Pneumaticraft. So we can order, you know, we can set up to start ordering those survey things. But let's go ahead at this point. And for the Rune of Spring, it's water, fire. And let's go ahead. 2 of those, that. There we go. And we'll get that going. And we're going to be doing 6 crafts, 6 runes of spring. That's going to give us 1 extra over what we're going to be using today, but that's okay. I wouldn't mind having just 1 extra of these lying around, basically for crafting our master runes a little bit later. It'll be handy to have. Okay, and then we need to take a look at the Rune of Summer. Now, we do have the God Shards, luckily, which I had to use up because I was out of Nebu. I went ahead and used up 1 that I didn't have a duplicate of for that, but put that into there because we're going to have that 1 extra that I want to hold on to. Before the Runes of Summer, it's sand, easy enough. It's melon popsicles, which are melons and ice, which we can get from our farm, and then any kind of pie. So I'm just going to get this stuff together. This is all super basic stuff. Nothing new that we have to set up for this one. And then I'm going to get six crafts of those. And then I'll be back here in just a little bit. Okay, there is our very last row. Alright, and I'm only going to need 4 of these. I don't need any more today. So I'm just going to dump the rest of those 2 into there. And then to get our tier 3 apiary at this point, we need all the basic stuff that we've already got, and then we just need tokens of joy. And I do have 2 already crafted up, but I will have to craft up a couple more. Okay, so there is our tokens of joy. Okay, now I'm going to need a bunch of gold powder at this point. So what we're going to do, before we get into making the apiaries, just because I need so much gold powder, we're going to go ahead and make ourselves a Benevolent Goddess Charm. And then we're going to need Mage Bloom Seeds. Okay, so there is our Ancient Sapling, or Ancient Saplings, our Benevolent Goddess Charm, there's that. And then I think we've got everything at this point. So, a couple Source Gems, a couple Ancient Saplings, a couple Mage Bloom Seeds, some Mage Bloom, Benevolent Goddess, and Sylph Shard. If you're planning on going with Hopper Botany Pots, you'll need a bunch of these, but I'm not actually planning on probably doing a whole lot with Hopper Botany Pots, to be honest. And then we can take our Sylph Charm and we can just click it in. These may not, it may be only vanilla leaves, so I may have to put something else in there, but we can just click the Summoning Crystal, and this is going to get plugged up to drawers. I don't think we'll have enough time to do it on camera, but it's pretty straightforward, of course, just setting up another drawer system like we have before. So I'll work on that, but we got this chest here so we can start filling this out, and the sylph is going to look at basically everything in the area. And she's going to steadily collect the plants. And it's basically non-silk touch breaking. So we can get saplings and sticks from leaves. We can get gold leaf from the golden leaves. We can get all the different flowers and mushrooms. Wood from the wood blocks. And there's a few like special case things that she can get as well. So we kind of have to test and play around with, but if you're ever wondering if she'll accept something, you can just click her there and it says the sylph would be excited to have this in their home, and that's something that she'll be able to farm off of. So then of course we can right click her with an empty hand. It says she's very unhappy right now, and there's not a lot of diversity. So there's not a whole lot of different types of plants, and there's not enough plants to make her really happy. We want to get more plants in this area, and basically it's going to speed her up. But for right now, this will be okay, and then we'll just add things as they come up. If they're not coming from her little farm, then we'll add them. And it's also worth noting that she can farm crops as well. Actually, the maple is changing. Never mind. But she can farm crops as well, so she got a stick. Great. And she does need source nearby in order to run, so she's definitely not getting a whole lot of things at the moment because there's just not a whole lot of variety in here. Let's grab like cartwheels, our tulips, some of these like various different plants, and we'll start putting these in as well. But she does check a fairly decent size radius, and we're going to be putting, you know, various different trees and things in here. At least enough for her to access, but we got to get that diversity up. So I was thinking I would have more diversity in here, but I don't. You know, I'm actually thinking... Let me grab our Sylph Charm real quick, because I'm almost thinking that she's ignoring all of this. So let's just drop her down into the floor. It's really not ideal because I was wanting it on top of this. And it worked well on Spellbound. My trees were actually a little bit higher, but it worked for my stuff that was lower. But maybe it had something to do with the layout. I was thinking that you could go down. I know you can go upwards to some degree, but you may not be able to go down with this as much as I thought you could. Okay, now she's getting all the different flowers and stuff. She must have not been seeing them before. So, yeah, you can see a wider variety of things coming in. And probably if we look at her now, she seems content, but she could be better. And her home is extremely diverse. I was wondering, because I have a lot of flowers out here. A lot of different variety of flowers. But you can see we're getting gold leaf. And she'll fill drawers with gold leaf extremely fast. As well as giving us access to all the mystical flowers, all the different mushrooms, and, you know, something I've never tried, which I do want to try real quick, is can she do glimmering flowers? Because if so, that would just save us a little bit of crafting and a little bit of glowstone if she could just pick those up. Not to mention they will act as a light source, so we can use that to light up the base of our pyramid, so... But yeah, she's getting about 12 gold leaf per harvest at the moment, so that'll give us plenty. Well, this isn't enough, but we'll have enough here shortly. So we'll leave her running for a minute. So now at this point, we can go ahead and lay out our Ritual of the Forest. I think we'll need a little bit more, but... And then we can go ahead and get these laid out real quick. So our Apiary, our runes, our tokens... 2 honeycomb or honey blocks, 2 honeycomb blocks, and there we go. Beginning the end game. Okay, how's she doing at the moment? Oh wow, lots of great things coming in, and it means we never have to worry about gold powder again. That's why I've been kind of lax on Ritual of the Forest, Nature's Aura, gold powder, just in general. Is the sylph just... It makes it so much better because we can get all that stuff. Plus, we need a lot of plants for magic, and sylph is kind of the big gateway. I mean, granted, you can do other farms, like other crop auto farms, because we're going to be doing our crops through the sylph too. You can do other types and faster types of auto farms for the different plants and stuff like that. However, the sylph is kind of an all-in-one, and she's going to save us a lot of space as far as our plant farms go, because a single plant, and she can pump out fairly fast. Which right now she's only content. When she becomes extremely happy, then she's going to be, of course, even stronger. She's going to be just literally churning out stuff. So we just have to get, you know, more variety and stuff in here. But you can see we're getting types of wood. I'm not sure if she can get driftwood. I have one placed, but just one block, so it may take her a second to start farming that. And I'm still waiting to see if we get glimmering green flowers, but we'll keep an eye on that. But okay, so we got our 4 tier 3 apiaries. Also at this point, we do get some stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'll take the rest of it later. Just a mending book. And then resourceful bees. We get a couple resourceful bee loot boxes with glowstone bees, beeswax blocks, honeycomb, icy bees. Nothing that I actually want. Some shears. And that means we can put in our new apiaries. And we now have tier 3 apiaries. So for the tier 4, I know we're going to need iridescent altar, which is a big step for us. Powder of fertility is easy. And actually, I think Rune of Lust is really easy. Rune of Summer, yeah, I mean, it's not that bad. We got to do a little bit of astral sorcery, a little bit of blood magic, but it's not expensive. So, basically, the iridescent altar is going to be the big probably limiting factor before we can push on to the tier 4. So apiaries are actually resourceful bees in general, and this pack is super cheap. Okay, so now I just need to get my ceilings put on and get that set up. Now, before I do that, though, one thing we do need to go ahead and do is set up our connectors onto this. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a connector in here and a connector in here. And then we're just going to run this over and plug it into the XNet line, because we're going to be pulling out the fluids from this. And of course, we're going to be voiding everything that's not specific fluids, the ones that we set up earlier. So run over to there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to have the honey congealer. I can go ahead and remove this. We're going to have a honey congealer, and it's going to be set up probably just right over here. And so we'll have the honey congealer here. So we'll have like this first honey congealer, and it's going to do, you know, regular honey, let's say. And once I get a bucket of regular honey, I'll add it to the filter. I might be able to get a bucket if I just throw these in, but we'll see. No, I didn't get any honey. So basically the stuff that's in this filter at the moment. So honey, otherworldly honey, and ICB honey. We'll keep for now, and then we'll just add it to the filters. I am going to go ahead and tell it that these 2 centrifuge spots, we're going to go ahead and say that you can extract from these, because I won't need any more congealed honey before it's automatically coming in. So okay, and she can get the glimmering flowers. So that's another flower that we can put in, because of course we will be using these for the floating flowers. And there are some that have like special case uses, like ancient saplings, for example, take glimmering pink. But we'll be making a lot of floating flowers, so we'll definitely get those put in. Alright, so over to this apiary. At this point, these work identical. The only difference is their time in hive is cut down. For example, it's 45%, whereas I think it was 35% for the tier 1, so it's definitely going to help us out. So let's go ahead and just unlock. But now whenever these run, we will get our hands on honeycomb blocks instead. I think it's 3 honeycomb blocks, right? 1 honeycomb block. Okay, I think Spellbound was 3. What did we get from the tier 4? 2 honeycomb blocks. Okay. Yeah, it's different than Spellbound, but still it's substantially more, because with the tier 2 we were only going to be pumping out I think 6 combs. Yeah. So it's 3 more combs, and they can be processed all at once. But we definitely won't be needing 2 centrifuges at the moment in terms of speed. But what we're going to do is these will be filtered a little bit. So what we're going to do, let's grab a couple low filter modules. We're going to come up right here. We're going to put in a pipe there, a pipe, no, I'm sorry, just 1 pipe there. And this is actually going to need a retrieval. And what we're going to do is the one on the right here, we're going to put a retrieval module in, and we're going to say keep glass bottles. And actually keeping a specific amount, because I think it'll be able to input them. Let me get a stack limiter, because it might be trying to input them into these other slots, because I think they can... No, they can't go in, so I actually don't need a stack limiter in that case. Instead, all we'll do is just plug this up. Because the one on the right is actually going to handle our bottle-based crafts. Because bear in mind that certain things like the PCB and stuff in the Ender honeycombs, they take glass bottles and they have to have them. But we don't want all the different fluids going into glass bottles, right? So this will be the one that gets ran the most. This one will be really just kind of special case. Probably could have left it as a regular centrifuge, but I'd rather keep it a little bit more uniform. And then what we're going to do is, to deal with that, this one on this side is going to have a high filter module, and we're going to say it's going to disallow certain things. So in this case, I'm going to say disallow glass bottle for right now. We will add special honeycombs, but for right now, I just want it to basically just run at the moment. And then this one over here, we're going to disallow, or we're going to be allowing glass bottles. So once I get the honeycombs that we need for this, we'll add those. And then at this point, really what I need to do is just change out drawers. Let me go grab my key. I'll be doing a lot of the setup for this off camera because it's pretty straightforward. But if we take a look inside of here, you can see we have all these different honeycomb blocks. So we're going to go ahead and just cycle these real quick. And you can see they're getting pulled out immediately because they're going to be going over to our nifty new centrifuge, which can run 3 different combs at once. And it's not very power hungry or anything like that. So you can see these are running, and this one, of course, is not getting anything. And looks like we are getting honey. That's great. Let me go ahead, grab a bucket of that. And on the honey congealer line, the first honey congealer, we're going to go ahead and say that you can insert, it's going to be honey. There we go. And we should see honey coming in. It is. And then all we have to do is just extract that. I went ahead and put the connector on the back instead of there. And that way then we can run our pipes down. Because the line that I want to plug into is actually this one right here. So we'll just run it down and over like that. Then we can take the honey blocks and then we just slot them in and we're good to go. So we'll just put them in right here. And then we should be all set. But we got our bees set up and in kind of a permanent layout, and that way I can get the drawers kind of finalized. Everything's going to get changed over to comb blocks, and then I got to get our new bees set up, and I'll be setting up, you know, blaze bees and some things like that at this point, and we can get basically everything coming in fast enough to suit our needs for all of our system. And we have our sylph up and running, which is quite good. Look at all the gold leaf coming in. It's quite nice. Very, very nice. And we have glimmering green. I've got to add all the different colors of glimmering and make sure that I've got all the different colors of mystical flowers and mushrooms in here as well. And we can get ancient bark from Nature's Aura for free. So that means that we'll have all the ancient planks we could ever want coming in as well. We are getting driftwood. That's good. And yeah, we'll just have to start filling it out now at this point. So everything related to plants, crops, wood, and so on, the sylph can handle that for us. And it's also worth noting that you can dye her. Let's do white. Yeah, there we go. White, she takes on that appearance. You know, there's a few different colors, so we can dye her as well. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, as always, be sure and hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe if you're not already to stay updated with when new videos come out. And I hope to see you guys next time. So until then, as always, do take care, stay safe, and I'll see you guys then.